Imagine being sworn into one of the most important legal positions in the entire United States. You're standing in a federal courthouse, you're totally ready to tackle your district's biggest challenges. And then, imagine being fired from that exact same job just 1 hour later. Well, that's exactly what just happened in Seattle. It's a highly unusual, incredibly swift dismissal of a top legal official, and it's setting off a massive constitutional clash. Okay, let's dive into this explainer. 54. I really want you to focus on this number for a second, because it represents the exact number of minutes Roger Rogoff actually spent as the top federal prosecutor in Seattle before being fired by President Trump. I mean, it's a breathtakingly short tenure, right? And it has sparked intense legal debates, political controversy, and a whole lot of renewed questions about the balance of power between the White House and the federal judiciary. Section 1. Who is Roger Rogoff? A decades-long legal career. So, looking at his heavy-hitting resume, Rogoff is 57 years old. He's got 20 years under his belt as a state prosecutor and another 6 as a federal prosecutor. He's a former King County Superior Court judge, and until recently, he directed Washington State's Office of Independent Investigations. But here is the thing that brilliantly illustrates his deep bipartisan credentials. He was unanimously appointed to this interim U.S. attorney role by 17 federal judges. We're talking 10 appointed by Democrats and 7 appointed by Republicans. That kind of unanimous support across the political aisle, yeah, it's incredibly rare. Section 2. The swift dismissal. A bizarre timeline of events. We really need to look at the exact tick-tock of Wednesday morning to fully grasp just how fast this all went down. At 7:40 a.m., Rogoff was officially sworn in at the Seattle Federal Courthouse. By 8 a.m., he arrived at his new office to request a meeting with the acting interim attorney, Charles Neal Floyd. But then, at 8:34 a.m., literally while waiting in the lobby, he received an email terminating him. Rogoff later reflected on this remarkably brief period, ironically calling it the greatest hour in my life. And the email that ended it all? It was incredibly abrupt. Titled A Message from the President, it just bluntly stated that President Trump was removing him from the office of the United States Attorney. His tenure ended before he could even unpack his briefcase. It completely halted his plans to tackle standard district priorities, things like illegal immigration, human trafficking, and prosecuting drug trafficking gangs. Section 3. The legal battleground. Separation of powers in action. Now, to understand the friction here, the absolutely crucial point is understanding the rule that got Rogoff hired in the first place. When a 120-day interim appointment expires and the Senate hasn't confirmed a permanent replacement, the law, specifically the Vacancies Reform Act, actually allows federal judges in that specific district to step in and appoint a temporary U.S. attorney. Since the previous interim attorney's term ended in February, the judges used this exact statutory rule to fill the empty seats. So what we are seeing is a constitutional clash happening right now in real time. On one side, we have the judiciary's authority, their statutory right to appoint a prosecutor just to keep the justice system moving after a 120-day vacancy. But on the flip side, we have the executive's authority. The administration firmly argues that the president holds the ultimate constitutional power to fire executive branch employees, particularly those who haven't been vetted or confirmed through the standard executive process. Let's hear the administration's defense directly. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche posted on social media, stating frankly, "District court judges can appoint a temporary U.S. attorney, and POTUS can fire them." He emphasized the administration's concern by adding that the judges abandons the time-honored process of consultation with the administration so that the selected U.S. attorney is qualified to serve in the administration. They are making it very clear they are asserting presidential authority over executive roles. Meanwhile, lawmakers are presenting a starkly different perspective. Senator Patty Murray of Washington argued that Rogoff was appointed legally and claimed the administration doesn't want to deal with advice and consent, referring, of course, to the standard Senate confirmation process. As for Rogoff himself, well, she noted that he's retained a labor law firm and is considering legal action, stating that being dismissed without a conversation or any evaluation of his plans is not appropriate and is most likely unlawful. Section 4. A national pattern. Beyond the Pacific Northwest. Because there is an undeniable pattern here, folks. This administration's legal maneuvering over prosecutors isn't just a Seattle thing. It's happening nationwide. Just look at New Jersey, where Alina Habba resigned after an appeals court ruled she was serving unlawfully. In Eastern Virginia, Lindsay Hulligan left her post and a judge dismissed her indictments. Up in Northern New York, judges blocked John Sargoni from a permanent role. And in another Virginia district, James Hunley was appointed by judges and immediately fired by the administration, exactly like Rogoff.
This is a systemic, nationwide, constitutional clash over who gets to choose top prosecutors.
Section 5. Why this matters. The future of the American justice system. The real-world implications of this standoff are massive. For starters, Washington state has literally lacked a full-time Senate-confirmed U.S. attorney for 3 whole years. These unfilled, turbulent vacancies directly impact the day-to-day prosecution of serious federal crimes. But beyond public safety, this situation severely tests the limits of the Vacancies Reform Act. It places a tremendous strain on the relationship between the executive and judicial branches, and it raises deep, foundational constitutional questions about judicial independence versus executive reach.
Which leaves us with this final, vital question to reflect on. Where should the line be drawn between a president's executive authority and the independence of the judicial branch? When these two foundational pillars of our government collide, who ultimately has the final say? It's a constitutional thought exercise that will undoubtedly shape legal precedent for decades to come. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time as we break down the most fascinating topics shaping our world.